Really disappointing from a Scotland perspective, you'd have to say. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 then. We are up and underway at the start of the second half, and for Hungary, well, they did create more than Scotland in that first half. A couple of efforts from Saloy from range, one of which was palmed away by Angus-Gard, and then Auburn did have a header over the crossbar from really close in after a free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai, and ultimately that went off target. I think Auburn would have been offside if he had found the back of the net. So what could Scotland do in this second half? The equation and the permutations are slightly complicated, but in reality it's clear they must score in this second 45 minutes. They must find a way through, and they must up the ante in terms of what they've got going forwards in the game. It all comes down to this really for Scotland. Can they find a goal? Can they breach this Hungary defence? 46 minutes on the clock. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 in the game. And it is a free kick for Hungary on the left-hand side, which is launched forward towards Dominic Szoboszlai, the Liverpool man and Hungarian captain. Couldn't quite get there initially, but Hungary do have the ball on the right-hand side, and they're playing it forward down their right-hand side, down Scotland's left, and McKenna came across to deal with the situation. He's had a good game as McKenna in the game so far, Scott McKenna, and it will be a throw-in now for Hungary on the right-hand side near the corner flag. In fact, it will be a throw which will be taken on that right-hand side, and Hungary now through Botka are going to try and launch this one into the penalty area. Botka considered taking it short, instead he's going to go long. Botka then with a throw into the penalty area, not properly cleared by Scotland. One or two half-hearted appeals for the handball inside the confines of the penalty area. Dominic Szoboszlai is just suggesting that there was a hand used in the heart of it, but Botka will take another throw, level with the edge of the Scotland penalty area on the right-hand side for Hungary, and Botka is going to hurl the ball into the penalty area, out of play for a corner kick for Scotland on that right-hand side. And so McKenna got a touch on a corner kick, I should say, for Hungary on that right-hand side. Just shy of 48 minutes on the clock. Scotland 0, Hungary 0. This third group game in Group A, a game that Scotland simply must win. So Szoboszlai takes it right-footed on the right-hand side, swings it in to a half-decent area, but Scotland have got bodies back there to pacify the danger, at least initially. And so it will be a throw-in which Hungary will take on that right-hand side, and Bola will leave the ball actually for Botka, and Botka he's just taking a little bit of a run up from this one. He's inside the technical areas, Botka. Instead he goes back on the right-hand side to Orban. Orban inside his own half for Hungary as the table stands. Switzerland has 7 points, Germany 6, Scotland 2 and Hungary 1. There is a chance that Scotland could qualify with 2 points, but it feels very unlikely indeed. Szoboszlai with a touch on inside the confines of the penalty, and then the snap strike is down the throat of Angus-Gard, and once again it's Saloy who is there, and Roland Saloy managed to snap a strike away, and he just about managed to test Angus-Gard, but a lot of the sting had been taken off the strike by the deflection, and so it is Scotland who have the ball at the back. And the fact that Scotland just haven't managed to get a strike in on goal in a game they need to win. I mean, you don't imagine that Steve Clarke's going to wait too long before he makes changes in the second half. I mean, no shots on target. Expected goals of 0 for Scotland in that first half, and chances created 0 as well. It really does tell its own story for Steve Clarke and Scotland. I mean, how long he's going to wait before he makes changes. Opportunity now for Hungary to flick the ball up towards halfway. Couldn't quite do so. And Scotland are back in possession right on halfway. Launched towards Shea Adams, and McTominay will get there first. And Scott McTominay's trying to win the ball back, and is there going to be a free kick for Hungary? Yes, it is, just outside their own penalty area. As Nadai goes down, there's a yellow card actually for Scott McTominay. He can't believe that a yellow card has been shown in his direction, but a yellow card it is. And so Scotland 0, Hungary 0. 50 minutes on the clock, and the left studs up from Scott McTominay, meaning the yellow card has been given, and the ball is now played forward for Hungary, and Dominic Szoboszlai on the right hand side will just poke it forward towards Varga, but Varga is offside, And Scott McTominay still shaking his head as he kind of moves away from the action and discontinues chatting to the referee. Now Scotland have the ball outside their own penalty area. Scotland in possession on the right hand side. Scotland once again trying to move the ball around really neatly, and it's gathered by McKenna on the left hand side inside his own half. Scotland want a free kick. They're going to get a free kick as Scott McTominay goes down deep inside his own half on the left hand side, and so it is a free kick for Scotland. And I imagine Steve Clarke's only going to wait another 5 or 10 minutes because he knows his side need a goal, and they do have options on the bench. And it's really difficult for Che Adams, hasn't it, to manage to get into the game and manage to hold the ball up or produce anything really of note. Scotland in possession then just outside the centre circle, and Scott McTominay moves it round the corner, and McGinn now will hold it up. McGinn inside the centre circle, goes to his left hand side and finds McKenna. McKenna now feeds the ball to the left hand side and is collected by Hungary on their right hand side. A little bit of a scrappy opening 6 or 7 minutes to the start of the second half. Throw in though, which Andy Robertson will take on the left hand side. He's a yard away from Steve Clarke, as Andy Robertson hasn't really had the opportunity to get forward too many times. In fact, Robertson and Ralston really just haven't been able to provide that overlapping width that Steve Clarke would have wanted. Here's a chance though for Gilmour. Gilmour feeds the ball into the penalty area, but Hungary got bodies back there, and Hungary want a free kick right on halfway. And are they going to get it? No, they're not. It's collected by Hanley then, just outside the centre circle. Scotland in possession, and Hanley just feeds it to his right hand side, and Scotland with Hendry are in possession of the ball. Hanley and Scotland playing little triangles inside their own half, and Hanley eventually goes back towards Angus Gunn. Angus Gunn takes the ball out of his feet and flicks it forwards, looking for Che Adams, and Che Adams feeds it to Andy Robertson on the left hand side, and Andy Robertson very nearly gave the ball away. Instead he does actually give the ball away ultimately to Dominic Szoboszlai, his Liverpool teammate, but Andy Robertson wins it back, and here is Andy Robertson for Scotland, and now Che Adams on the left hand side, and Che Adams is approaching the penalty area. Che Adams with the strike on goal, and he zips it over the crossbar, but really one of the first times in the game Andy Robertson had a little bit of space to move into and just started to find a bit of momentum, and he won the ball back off Szoboszlai after losing it initially to Andy Robertson. Fed it into with Che Adams on the left hand side just outside the penalty area. Che Adams just dropped the shoulder 35 yards from goal, or maybe a tad closer in, around about 30 yards from goal. Right footed, he lifts the ball over the crossbar. So Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score. 53 minutes play. Ball is launched forward for Scotland, and Hungary are back in possession inside their own half, and the game and the clock ticks on. Don't forget, it is worth just hammering this home, the fact that a draw is very, very unlikely to see Scotland qualify for the knockout stage of the tournament, but a win likely would see them qualify for the knockout stages of an international tournament for the first time in the nation's history. I mean, it just would be absolutely balmy for the Scottish fans inside this ground and in and around Stuttgart. Forward towards Scott McTominay, but all the way through towards Ulaci, and the ball just going beyond Scott McTominay. Now Hungary have the ball inside their own penalty area, flicked to the right hand side and collected now by Hungary and Botka. Szoboszlai was back there helping out, but Scotland have actually won the ball back, but the ball just trickles out of play, and it will be a throw in for Hungary on the right hand side. Surely Steve Clarke doesn't believe that it's worth holding on to a draw, and the outside chance that would be enough to see them qualify. Surely he's got to be looking to, at some point in the game, in 10 minutes or so, or potentially less, to take the gamble, to throw on Shankland and see what they can do. So Dominic Szoboszlai has the ball on the right hand side for Scotland against Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson with the touch, and Szoboszlai will now regather for Hungary, and Hungary do have the ball on the right hand side just outside their own penalty area, and Che Adams gets a roar of approval from the Scotland supporters of putting a little bit of pressure on the goalkeeper, and Scotland win the ball back in a half-decent position. Scott McTominay lays it off towards Andy Robertson, who loses out. And now Hungary come forward with Dominic Szoboszlai, and Hungary now pouring forward to Szoboszlai for Hungary, and Szoboszlai feeds the ball to the left-hand side, and Hungary now with an opportunity inside the penalty area. Big deflection on its way through. Did it strike the arm, potentially, of the Scotland defender Ralston, who is down on the floor? Maybe not. It was Zaloy who struck it, and I think Hendry had his right arm right down to his side, so I don't think that is going to be a penalty given. It is Scotland 0, Hungary 0, and Hungary have a corner kick, their fourth corner kick of the game, on the left hand side. It will be Dominic Szoboszlai to take it, and it is going to be Szoboszlai to try to feed it into the penalty area now for Hungary. Szoboszlai into a really good area underneath the nose of Angus Gunn, and on the follow-up Angus Gunn's just going to let that one go out of play for a goal kick for Scotland. And I wonder, Steve Clarke, I mean, what will be in his mind right now, because 56 minutes on the clock, Scotland need a goal. They just haven't looked likely the entire game. They really haven't. And I wonder if Shankland is going to come on soon. There are other options, of course, on the bench, which Steve Clarke may be likely to go for. Ball is launched forward now by Scotland towards halfway. Scotland in possession with McGregor, and McGregor zips it in now towards Gilmour, and Gilmour right on halfway, and Scotland in possession inside the centre circle, and McKenna has it. McKenna left-footed, goes to his left-hand side and finds Andy Robertson, and Scotland, well, they played the ball back inside their own half, and Andy Robertson was just really frustrated because he felt as though the ball should have been played forward there, as he had zipped the ball forward himself at Andy Robertson, and Gilmour just fizzed the ball back into the feet of his centre-backs, and Gilmour trying to go forwards now, finds McGinn, and McGinn tussling for the ball, and still John McGinn has it, and McGinn on the right-hand side, and the ball will break for McGinn, just outside the penalty area. John McGinn, he's inside the penalty area. It's John McGinn with the cutback. He was trying to find Scott McTominay, couldn't quite do so, but that's much better from Scotland, and John McGinn on the right-hand side was just bulldozing his way through. Great energy, great appetite to get inside the penalty area from John McGinn, and the cutback was rather telegraphed, and that allowed Hungarian players to come back and alleviate the danger, but nonetheless Scotland are trying to find a way through, and it is a throw-in for Scotland by the corner flag. Scott McTominay has it, and now it's Gilmour, and Gilmour tried to feed the ball into the penalty area, couldn't quite do so. Will come now for Scotland once again, and McGinn, and Scotland wanted a free kick, not going to get it. Ball now on the right hand side just outside the penalty area, and Scotland will have an opportunity to contest the ball 40 yards from goal as it bounces down, and McGinn was there, and Hungary are going to pick up the pieces, are they? The ball is lashed forward now, and Scotland have got some defending to do, and Angus Gunn is going to hoist the ball up towards halfway, and it's flicked on by Scotland. Bit of head tennis on both sides. Szoboszlai couldn't get a touch on it. Szoboszlai now though will collect 40 yards from goal, and Dominic Szoboszlai has been, well, he's been thwarted in his attempt to move the ball forward because the flag is up for offside, as Varga was just returning from an offside position. Varga did try and get involved in the game, and it's good officiating. In fact, the officials have been spot on tonight. So it is Andy Robertson, the Scotland captain, just 5 yards in for the touchline on the left hand side, gathered now by McKenna. McKenna goes to his right hand side and finds Hanley, and Scotland have the ball once again just outside the centre circle, and Hanley will gather now for Scotland. Hanley flicks the ball forward, and he's looking for Shea Adams, and Scott McTominay now will try and gather. McTominay couldn't quite gather, but Shea Adams might do so. Hungary win the ball back through Szoboszlai, and Scotland have the ball, and Gilmour has it inside the centre circle, just shy thereof. McGinn now on the right hand side, inviting Ralston forward by the touchline. Ralston's ball into the penalty area is far too close to Lachi, and it is a comfortable gather for the goalkeeper. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score with 60 minutes on the clock. So ball is launched towards halfway. Scotland now will play it back towards Angus Gunn inside his own penalty area. Angus Gunn launches it forwards now, up and over halfway. And it is going to be a substitution, is it now, for Hungary? And it looks as though it will be... Well, it is going to be a substitution for Hungary, yeah. And it's going to be Adam Nagy, the player, to come on. The Spezia man is on the field of play. He's actually on loan from Pisa at Spezia, from the Bristol City player, but potentially those who watch the EFL in England. Styles is the player who's coming off in his place. Still, Steve Clarke doesn't make a substitution. And I think by now one or two Scotland fans will really feel as though a substitution should be taking place. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score. Scotland have the ball at the back, and it's collected now on the right hand side and helped down the line, and Shea Adams couldn't get a touch on it. Scott McTominay will try and pick up the piece just outside the penalty area, but Hungary back in possession inside the centre circle, but Scotland biting back into possession, and overall Scotland still without an attempt on target. It is rather dire statistics, really. You just look at the statistical analysis of the game, but if they could just have one attempt behind the back of the net, they will be in such a fabulous position in terms of qualification. Absolutely guaranteed, but they will be in great shape to qualify. Here is Shea Adams. Shea Adams inside the centre circle, caresses the ball 5 yards to his right hand side and finds Hendry. Hendry goes back inside towards Gilmour. Gilmour 35 yards to goal on the right hand side. Now McGinn. McGinn just outside the penalty area, wants to get back on that left foot. Gilmour is the option, finds McGinn once more, and McGinn flanked by a couple of hundred players, wants a free kick. He's not going to get one. It's just a throw for Scotland, and the Scottish supporters in the ground really are making their voices heard in this one. And Scotland have the ball down the left hand side, and it's helped now towards Shea Adams. Shea Adams inside the penalty area, and was that offside against Shea Adams? Yes, it was. And so it'll be a free kick for Hungary deep inside their own half, and indeed inside their own penalty area. So is there going to be a substitution soon from Steve Clarke? Shea Adams desperately trying to G up the Scottish fans. They just need a moment, they just need a goal. And I wonder, there is one moment for this Scotland side. For Hungary, though, they will feel as though there's a moment for them. There's still some pride in this group as the ball is played into the penalty area. It's going to be another corner kick for Hungary on their left hand side as Ralston goes down because it scratched off his face as the ball went through. Hungary, of course, who came into this tournament in absolutely magnificent form. I mean, the best form they've been in for decades. So certainly in terms of the Hungarian press and the Hungarian national expectations, has been bitterly disappointing from their point of view. Scotland 0, Hungary 0, the score. Corner kick from Soboslai from the left hand side. It's kept alive now by Hungary on the right hand side and into a dangerous area, and the header is over the crossbar from Hungary in form Dadai. And so it remains Scotland 0, Hungary 0, but there's no doubt that Hungary have had the better chances in the game, and that was a clever corner kick from Soboslai, right footed from the left hand side, and eventually when it was collected on that right hand side by Bola, it was helped into a really dangerous area, and Angus Gunn very grateful to see the ball go over the crossbar. And so Scotland have it once more just inside their own penalty area. They're trying to feed it up towards McGinn right on halfway, and McGinn has the ball, and McGinn gives the ball away, and Hungary have it once more, and Hungary now with the opportunity inside the penalty area, drops now to Dominic Soboslai, and Soboslai couldn't quite get a strike away, and Andy Robertson goes down, but Scotland will come away with the ball, and Gilmour has managed to just regather possession on the left hand side, and the game just looking a little bit stretched and a little bit ragged. And I wonder at this point in the game, given the permutations, given the need that Scotland have to win this game, if that actually is a really good thing for Scotland, because as it stands, I mean, they haven't had a shot on target in 64 minutes in a game they simply must win, and that tells its own story if truth be told. Collected now by Scotland on the right hand side. Scotland have the ball through Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay making inroads now. It's Scott McTominay for Scotland. It's McTominay, still Scott McTominay, but he's flanked by 2 or 3 Hungarian players. and it is ultimately Hungary who come away with the ball on the left-hand side. So Scotland have got some defending to do here as Hungary have the ball through Dominik Szoboszlai. And Dominik Szoboszlai goes to his right-hand side, and Hungary have the ball to the right-hand side, just level with the Scotland penalty area. It was Bolo who tried to fire the ball into the air, it didn't quite come off. And still, Scotland have got some defending to do here. 25 minutes left to play, potentially the last 25 minutes of Scotland's tournament. And really, if it finishes 0-0, you feel as though it will be the last 25 minutes of Scotland's tournament. It is Botka who will take the throw, and Botka throws it back for Hungary on their right-hand side. Final pass is overcooked, will be thrown for Scotland on the left-hand side, and potentially now an opportunity for Scotland to clear their lines more emphatically. It is Scotland 0, Hungary 0. It hasn't been a classic in terms of goal-mouth action, but just when you factor in the narrative, when you factor in just how this could be a historic final 24 minutes for Scotland, if they can just find a way to get a goal. And Angus Gunn punches the ball away from danger, and it will be a throw-in which Dominik Szoboszlai wants to take quickly on the right-hand side, and that is going to be a throw-in which Szoboszlai does take. It's collected now on that right-hand side by Bola, and Bola goes to Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai drifting in field, Dominik Szoboszlai just lays it square, and Hungary have the ball on their left-hand side now. It's nicely done by, well, it's really clever feat by Saloy. He's been the standout player really for Hungary in the game so far, and Hungary do have a free kick because Hanley was just a little bit too eager to get the ball back, and still the game plods on. Still Scotland haven't had a shot on target. Remains 0-0 though. Dominik Szoboszlai with a free kick situation. So it is Scotland 0, Hungary 0, and Dominik Szoboszlai into a really decent area. Angus Gunn came and got palms on it. He wants a free kick to be given in his favour. There's one or two Scotland players down now inside the penalty area, and I think there's one or two Hungarian players are down, and Ralston as well is down clutching his face and looks in some degree of discomfort. And this is a really nasty collision in there, and thankfully all the players involved are actually moving now. Ralston for Scotland, or in fact it's, well, Orban is back on his feet, Ralston's okay, Angus Gunn's receiving some treatment. I think the biggest concern is the Hungarian player is absolutely crowded by his teammates, and this is going to give Steve Clarke just a moment to consider one or two things. Scotland 0, Hungary 0, the score, 68 minutes on the clock. And it is, there's lots of concern for the Hungarian player, and so 68 minutes played, 0-0 the score, and there's a brief interlude here, so treatment can be received. I think the Scotland players are going to be okay. It was a real mishmash inside the confines of the penalty area, and eventually just there's a bit of a hush around the ground now as both sets of supporters it's very difficult to get an exact view on what's going on out there on the pitch, and eventually the medical staff are on, and the suggestion is that the medical staff haven't been quick enough with how quickly they've moved, and there is a potential penalty check here inside the area as well, and there's a long delay. Is there going to be, well, there's a check for a penalty as well, as we see exactly what went on here. It's a difficult one, this, because there's an awful lot of players surrounding the situation. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score. That's the key takeaway. Less than 20 minutes to play, but an elongated break here. The penalty check is, well, it was a Dominik Szoboszlai free kick into the penalty area, and Angus Gunn came out and tried to clear his penalty box, and it was this gun who came out in the heart of the penalty area, and the man in question is Barnabas Varka, who's the player down, as a sheet now has been put around Varka, who really does look in a really tricky spot indeed. And of course we all hope that this one ends well. The referee's just having a conversation with Andy Robertson, who's I think worried about whether a penalty was going to be awarded, because Angus Gunn came steaming out, and we'll wait to see how this one unfolds. It's a penalty check which is ongoing. The Hungarian players are looking really worried about their teammate, they really are. I think Gunn did actually get a little bit of the ball, and that's what might save him, because Gunn came out and he didn't get a clear chunk of the ball, but he did get a little bit of the ball, and I think as a goalkeeper you're entitled to do that. And so Angus Gunn, I think, is going to be okay in terms of the potential penalty check. And elsewhere, it should be said in this group, Switzerland 1, Germany 0, as the penalty check is ongoing, and Varka is getting some treatment. I mean, this is a really lengthy delay now, understandably so. The priority of the player's health, of course, takes precedence over absolutely everything, and fans are pretty concerned as well. And an additional stretcher now has been brought onto the pitch as Varka remains down, and Steve Clarke is watching on, and there's a hushed tone around the ground. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score if you're just joining us, but the reason for this lengthy delay is because Barnabas Varka is receiving an awful lot of treatment, and eventually the stretcher is taking Varka off the field of play, and there's a ripple of applause around the ground from both Hungarian and simply have to win. They have not really created any chances whatsoever in the game. That'll be deeply disappointing for Steve Clarke, but the benefit in the Varka's going to receive some additional treatment, and now we will wait to see the outcome of the penalty check, because Angus Gunn came steaming out, and Barnabas Varka is receiving treatment off the field. Seems like the VAR check is over, no penalty, and Andy Robertson is going to smash the ball forward for Scotland, as Hungary are lining up a double substitution here. Varga then is obviously going to be replaced, and so too Dardai, and it looks as though Salai and Adam are the two players to come on for Hungary. So Varga, of course, is off, Dardai as well, and it is going to be the double substitution of Attila Salai, the defender from Freiburg, who is coming on, and is also the substitution of Martin Adam, who is on the field of play for Hungary. So officially 16 minutes left to play, but we'll have a fair amount of added on time at the end of the 90. Scotland 0, Hungary 0 is the score, and it is the ball hoisted up long by Scotland. Game, well, now there is going to be a double substitution for Scotland. I was just going to say the game has entered a really odd passage, really, because the substitution and the injury initially from Varga has just changed the complexion of things, and players now need to get their heads right back into it, because Scotland need a goal in the remaining 15 minutes or so here. And Andy Robertson was there on the left-hand side, but Adam was foraging for it, and now here is an opportunity for Hungary to feed the ball into the penalty area. Is that going to be a handball against Adam? Szoboszlai tries to weave away through. It's Dominik Szoboszlai. Feeds the ball into the penalty area, and Scotland feel as though there should be a free kick, because was there a handball inside the penalty area against Adam? I think there was. So a free kick has indeed been awarded. It was Adam who just put his left arm in the direction of the ball before Dominik Szoboszlai tried to find a way through. So 15 minutes left to play, and here comes the double substitution for Scotland. It will be Armstrong and Shanklin, the two players to come on. Lawrence Shanklin, who many people were saying should have started the game. McGinn and Adams are the two players to come off, and the two would have wanted McGinn to actually stay on the field of play, but Stuart Armstrong, the midfielder from Southampton, is on, and Lawrence Shanklin, the forward from Hearts, who's been in wonderful goal-scoring form for his club the past couple of years, is on the field of play. So, Scotland 0, Hungary 0. And still, Scotland haven't had a shot on target in the game. And Dominik Szoboszlai is going to pick up the pieces for Hungary. And Szoboszlai cuts it back in field. Now Andy Robertson picks his pocket. Andy Robertson up and over halfway. Scotland have the ball inside the centre circle. Collected now by Gilmour. Gilmour's got options to his right-hand side. And Scott McTominay just outside the penalty area. McTominay feeds it into the penalty area. It's going to be a corner kick now for Scotland. And an opportunity for Scotland to load the penalty area. And when you consider how little they created really in open play against Germany, how little they created in open play against Switzerland, and how little they created in open play tonight, potentially a set piece could be the situation. Could this be the moment that turns Scotland's footballing history around? It is Scott McTominay to give the signal with his left arm. Corner kick to be taken on the right hand side, right footed by Scott McTominay. It's McTominay who tries to zip it in towards the near post. It's a poor corner, and Dominik Szoboszlai is there, and Gilmour tried to get a touch on it. Wasn't a good touch by Gilmour, and all of a sudden here come Hungary. Ball is played forward, but it's far too much on it, and Angus Gunn does collect, and Angus Gunn feeds the ball out to his left hand side. And now it is an opportunity for Angus Gunn once again to launch the ball long. Angus Gunn goes to his right hand side, and so Angus Gunn once again inside the penalty area. I wonder, it's certainly going to be a lot of stoppage time at the end of the 90, that's for sure. But really, it's got to happen soon for Scotland. It's very, very unlikely that a draw is. Dominik Szoboszlai on the right-hand side. Dominik Szoboszlai has it for Hungary, 5 yards in from that right touchline. Hungary again now in possession in Gilmour, and Gilmour goes back inside, and Szoboszlai just outside the confines of the centre circle. And it is Hungary in possession. Scotland still crying out for a penalty. It was really the best moment of the game for Scotland. I mean, they haven't had a shot on target in the game, and they wanted a penalty there. Now we'll see one or two replays coming through. It was Scott McTominay who just fed the ball through really invitingly, and it was the ball played through. It was Armstrong who tangled really with Orban inside the penalty area, but it's not a penalty. Referee's got a spot on. It's not a penalty. Armstrong gets his body across, but it's clumsy, but it's not a penalty. There was more of a tangle of arms and legs and bodies, and Scotland crying in vain for a penalty, but the referee's been exemplary tonight. Gets that one right too. Scotland have the ball once more. 10 minutes left to play. Scotland need a goal if they are to qualify for the knockout stages of Euro 2024. Steve Clarke, for the first time in the game, really sits back on his seat inside his technical area. Gulaci launches it long for Hungary, and Scotland have got some defending to do here, because Hungary have a throw in on the left hand side. Scotland might just feel as though that was their moment in the game. Hungary now will feed the ball into the penalty area. Andy Robertson is there with the header. Still haven't had a shot on target in the game, have Scotland. And Hungary now have the ball just outside the penalty area, and Hungary trying to find a way through, and it could be an opportunity now. 35 yards from goal, and Szoboszlai wanted to play to the right hand side, didn't quite come to him, but Hungary's still in possession, and Angus Gunn will collect in goal for Scotland, and he rolls the ball out. The sense of urgency now for Scotland is absolutely palpable, and Andy Roberts the ball on the right hand side, and it's gathered now by Szoboszlai, but the ball eventually ricochets back to Angus Gunn in goal for Scotland. Angus Gunn right on the perimeter of his own penalty area, finds McGregor, and McGregor outside the confines of the centre circle feeds it to his right hand side, and here come Scotland once again, roared on by the Tartan army inside this ground, and Scotland dominate on the right hand side just outside the penalty area. Scotland now 45 yards from goal in possession as they approach the halfway. It could be an opportunity inside the penalty area. The goalkeeper gets a touch on it, and it's in the end scrambled away, but the flag was up anyway. In truth, it was always offside, was Shanklin, and it was a nice enough idea actually by Scotland. In fact, it wasn't Shanklin, it was Armstrong. Well, it was Shanklin who made the run initially, and then Armstrong following up, and well, it's caused problems, hasn't it? Another double substitution incoming now for Scotland, and it is going to be McLean to come on, and so too Ryan Christie. So Gilmore's one of the two players to be replaced, and Ralston as well. So Steve Clarke is going for it now. Ryan Christie, the midfielder from Bournemouth, and McLean, of course, the Norwich midfielder. I think this might be a shift to a back four, but we'll wait to see exactly how tactically this one plays out. So 7 minutes to play, but there should be a decent amount of added on time at the end of the 90, because we had that horrific injury for Varga, who received treatment and came off the pitch on a stretcher. It is a final 7 minutes of the utmost tension at the Stuttgart Arena. Andy Robertson just lofts it forward. He's lofted it forward to no one in particular. I mentioned a moment or so ago, Andy Robertson hasn't really had his best game in a Scotland shirt, and just couldn't quite find the final ball there. Doubted quality, great service of course to his country, but it's quite been his night tonight. I'd say that about one or two Scottish players really, when you think about the fact they still haven't had a shot on target in the game. Szoboszlai now for Hungary on the right hand side. Eventually it's fed into the penalty area, and Angus Gunn will pluck the ball out of the night sky in Stuttgart and roll the ball out immediately for Scotland. And it is a opportunity now for Scotland, 5 yards in for the touchline on the right hand side, and it's gathered by Scotland once more, but it's really poor in the end because Dominic Szoboszlai regathers possession right on halfway, and Szoboszlai now coming up and over halfway and feeds the ball out to his left hand side. And forward come Hungary on that left hand side. They've got 5 players forward inside the penalty area. Just inside the penalty area now are Hungary. The ball is eventually wedged towards the back stick, and Andy Robertson had to get ahead on it to nudge it away, and it's recollected now by Hungary and fed into a good area. I think Szoboszlai was in the heart of the action there, and it's going to be a free kick for Scotland. 85 minutes on the clock, and it is Scotland 0, Hungary 0, and still you feel as though it just hasn't quite been Scotland's night. One shot to Hungary's 8, 0 shots on target. Only have one corner to Hungary's 5. One moment they've had is that appeal for a penalty, which the referee didn't think was a penalty as Armstrong went down. So it is another substitution now for Hungary, as Kerkez and Bola are the two players out, and Sobot and Nagy are the two players to come on. It is, well, it is Scotland 0, Hungary 0, 4 minutes of the 90 left to play, but we are going to have a considerable amount of added on time at the end of the 90 because of that injury to Vargo, who was stretchered off after a head injury inside the penalty area. And now around the ground you can hear the Scottish voices. They still believe there's a moment, they still believe there's a moment to turn this campaign around for them, a chance to make someone out there a hero, to do something incredibly special. I just wonder, is there a moment for Scotland in this contest? Well, Scotland 0, Hungary 0. You might look at that penalty appeal for Armstrong, but I think realistically, when you look at what the referee's let go in the game and what he's given yellow cards for, I don't think it was really a penalty. I think the referee's got that one absolutely spot on. Scotland 0, Hungary 0. The score, if you're just joining us, Scotland need a goal. A draw surely won't be enough. I mean, we won't know just yet, because technically Scotland could still qualify with a series of other results, 5 or 6 other results going their way, but it feels extremely unlikely. So Scotland need a goal. They need to find a way through. Of course, got that own goal against Germany, and got that Scott McTominay heavily deflected goal against Switzerland last time out. It is now Hanley who has the ball at the back now for Scotland, and they go all the way back to Gunn, and Angus Gunn will float it up, and Switzerland still leading Germany by a goal to 0, and Switzerland, as it stands, are going to be top of the group, and a bit of a humbling result this would be for Germany. And Switzerland, remember, the tournament specialists really, aren't they? Who knows, potentially with a great opportunity to find a way to win. Scotland 0, Hungary 0. The score. Andy Robertson is limping a little bit, and he's got the captain's armband off to Andy Robertson. I think he's going to be taken off here. He is, and Andy Robertson is coming off, and he's replaced by Morgan. And so it is Lewis Morgan to come on, the New York Red Bulls midfielder, and Andy Robertson is off. He's limping a little bit as Andy Robertson, and it's a last throw of the dice really, this, isn't it, from Steve Clarke. Is there anything Scotland could do? Potentially they can, because here comes Shankland down the left hand side for Scotland. Hungry though, with bodies back there to try to make things happen. It's going to be a free kick for Scotland. Well, a free kick Scotland conceded. They're not happy about that at all. Free kick for Hungary deep inside their own half. Szoboszlai takes it quickly. He's been busy tonight, Szoboszlai, but just the final third hasn't really happened for the Liverpool man. And now Hungary have the ball inside and around the Scottish penalty area, but it comes all the way through to Angus Gunn, and Angus Gunn rolls the ball out. Now an opportunity for Scotland to come again. Angus Gunn is going to launch this one long, and I think Route 1 at this stage might be the best bet, because they've huffed and they've puffed at Scotland, but they haven't been able to carve out an opportunity in the game against quite an organised Hungarian side defensively, you'd have to say. It's Dominic Szoboszlai. They all want to get a goal for themselves. They have the better of the very few chances in the game, have Hungary. And Hungary now towards the edge of the penalty area, and the effort in on goal is beaten away by Angus Gunn. It was Schaefer with the effort on goal. He was approaching the edge of the penalty area on the right hand side. He just managed to slip a strike away, and in truth it's a relatively comfortable save for Angus Gunn. Szoboszlai is going to take the corner kick on the right hand side for Hungary, and Szoboszlai floats it into a half decent area, comes to the edge of the penalty area through a crowd of bodies, I should say, and behind for a goal kick for Scotland. We played more than 90 minutes, and it's going to be 10 added on minutes at the end of the 90. 10 minutes. Wow 10 minutes for Scotland to try to get a goal, and Hungary and their supporters are watching on and cheering, because they will also fancy their chance, and if truth be told, they've been the more likely of the two sides to get themselves a goal. So Scotland have got some defending to do here, as Hungary are trying to win the ball back, and with 10 minutes left to play at the end of the game, there is now time for Scotland to do something, but Hungary at the other end are looking to make things happen. It's Dominic Szoboszlai. It's Szoboszlai for Hungary, beats the strike away to Angus Gunn, and eventually Scotland managed to get it away. It was Dominic Szoboszlai inside the penalty area, right-footed, who fizzed the ball really directly at the goalkeeper, and Angus Gunn was there to prevent the danger. Szoboszlai once more. Dominic Szoboszlai feeds the ball into the penalty area towards the back stick, and Angus Gunn outstretched just sees the ball go past the post, but really Hungary at the side with the chances. You just wonder really, as the offside flag was up anyway, just wonder really if Scotland, their best chance in the game might be absorbing a little bit of pressure from Hungary now, as they take a gamble and try and pick them off on the break. Dominic Szoboszlai a moment or so ago extracted a save from Gunn. It really has been all Hungary, and Hungary pouring forwards once again, and an opportunity now for Hungary, and Dominic Szoboszlai wants to play square, and it's flashed across the post by Hungary, and well, was the flag up? No, it wasn't. I think Scotland were half expecting it to come up, but it didn't come up in the end, and it was a really decent opportunity which they failed to take. It was Sobov who's just come off the bench, right-footed, but I wonder why he didn't slip it in for Dominic Szoboszlai for a tap and went for goal himself. I don't think Szoboszlai was particularly happy with that one, but the game's wide open now and Scotland are pouring forwards, and now Dominic Szoboszlai's won it back just outside the centre circle, and Dominic Szoboszlai for 35 yards, and still Szoboszlai goes down, wants a free kick, not going to get a free kick for that. Dominic Szoboszlai not happy, referee tells him to get to his feet. Scotland will try and break. We played 2 minutes of the added 10. And Scotland do have the ball through Scott McTominay, and Scott McTominay rise the challenge, and Scott McTominay's going to take the free kick, and I think that's the best bet for Scotland here, because as I mentioned a few times, I mean, you look at these statistics in the game, and you look at the fact that despite all of Scotland's endeavour, despite all their heart, they still haven't had a single strike on target, so potentially getting these kind of situations where they can just load the penalty area is going to be the best bet for Scotland. So it is a free kick for Scotland that they will take. 93 minutes we played, 3 of the allocated 10 minutes, and now you can really hear the Scottish fans. And is there just one great moment of delivery into the penalty area that would change their fortunes in the tournament, change really the arc of their history? I wonder. Scotland have the ball on the left-hand side, and Shankland tried to feed it into the penalty area, comes back to the edge of the penalty area, the striker goal, takes a deflection on his way through. It was McGregor who did have the hit, and it was Armstrong with the initial effort as the ball goes towards the back post now, and Shankland trying to get a touch on it, couldn't quite do so, and it is out of play for a goal kick for Hungary. And I wonder whether a little bit of belief now that will still be present with 6 minutes left to play of the allocated 10. A little bit of belief might just be starting to. Hungary have the ball, and they also need a goal at this point. Dominic Szoboszlai tried to intercept the ball. It's all got a little bit ragtag out there, a little bit messy from both sides. You can understand why the final 5 minutes now, potentially both of their campaigns, a draw doesn't really help either side. Is there a chance now for someone out there to make themselves a hero? Steve Clarke watches on, and Steve Clarke is just desperately hoping and praying there's a moment here for Scotland. It hasn't looked likely all game, you'd have to say. But will that change here? Gunn has the ball, and he just takes it outside his penalty area. Gunn launches it long. We're deep into stoppage time, into the 6th minute of added on time. 10 we will play, and Hungary have the ball. Hungary have created way more of the chances, and the ball, well, Dominic Szoboszlai is absolutely furious. The ball is actually with Gunn now, but Dominic Szoboszlai was absolutely furious because he felt as though the ball should have been played directly to his feet. It wasn't done so, and Gunn will launch the ball out and over halfway, and Scotland will try to somehow conjure something. They're inside the centre circle on the right hand side now for Scotland, and Hendry goes long, and Hendry's ball is a really good one. Scotland now have got options inside the penalty across the face of goal, and that was the chance for Scotland which they couldn't take, and Scott McTominay from 5 yards out turns the ball over the crossbar, and he can't believe it. What a massive moment for Scotland. McTominay would have been onside as well, I think. Well, in fact, the initial ball played on the right hand side potentially could have been offside, but when the ball came across the face of goal, Scott McTominay stretched out a left leg and turned it over the crossbar, licked the top of the crossbar. In fact, in fairness to him, the flag did eventually go up, and I think that would have been the final decision. So Scott McTominay's blush is a spare, but I think that was the kind of margin, the moment that Scotland was so desperate for. Finishes Switzerland 1, Germany 1 in the other game, and Scotland might just feel as though there's one more moment, but my goodness, that could have been it. That could have been it for Scotland. Of course, the flag was up in the end, so ultimately it wouldn't have counted. But this is high drama in Stuttgart. And here is Shankland. Shankland's 35 yards from goal on the right-hand side. And Shankland feeds it to his left-hand side. And Scotland have got plenty of bodies forward here. Inside the penalty area. Might come now for Armstrong. Armstrong tried to cut it back. Was the flag up anyway on the far side? No, it wasn't. So it's going to be a throw-in for Scotland on the left-hand side. Just about level with the edge of the penalty area. 97 minutes we've played. Armstrong will take the throw on the left-hand side for Scotland. Armstrong wants it back. Armstrong gets it back. A yard in from the touchline on that left flank. And Armstrong goes on the outside. Can he get across it? Yes, he can. Armstrong's ball played into the penalty area, to the edge of the penalty area. Scotland desperately trying to get a strike away on goal, and it's really congested outside the penalty area, and now there could be a chance here. There's the effort on goal. It's turned away by the goalkeeper. Still Scotland have the ball inside the penalty area, and my goodness, they've had their moments of Scotland in the last 2 or 3 minutes, and it was an opportunity for Hanley, who'd come forward earlier on, and what a chance that was for Hanley. What a chance for Grant Hanley to really test the goalkeeper Galacci. He couldn't do so, and the faces of the Scottish supporters inside the Stuttgart arena is one and are one of en masse knowing disappointment, because they just feel as though that could have been the moment for Hanley to find the goal. And wow, Scotland had their chance. We knew there would be a moment. We thought in games like this, when it becomes so open towards the end, there's a moment, a chance for someone to make themselves not just a hero on the night, not just a hero for the tournament, but a generational hero. And that could have been the moment for Grant Hanley. We're still not done yet. We've got 90 seconds left to play. Here's Shankland on the right-hand side. He's got 4 players inside the penalty area. Shankland's ball into the penalty area towards the back post. Scotland want a penalty, do they? They're going to get a corner kick and a chance to load the penalty area, and everyone's got to come forward here. Angus Gunn's got to come forward for Scotland as they desperately try to get the goal they crave. The ball was played in towards the back post, and it was Hanley once again at the back stick. Hanley, of course, who struck the post against Switzerland. No penalty, says the referee. Final minute of the 10. It's going to be Armstrong to take the corner kick, and surely the goalkeeper's got to come forward. Don't forget, a point probably won't be enough for Scotland here. It is Armstrong who's going to feed the ball into the penalty area. Beyond everyone is kept alive by Scotland, and Hanley's in the heart of the penalty area, drops invitingly. Scotland want a penalty, do they? But Hungary now are going to move away with the ball, and Dominic Szoboszlai feeds it forward, and all of a sudden there could be a chance now for Hungary. And Hungary want the ball played on the right-hand side, and Hungary get the ball played on the right-hand side. And Hungary now inside the penalty area. Szoboszlai wants it played square. Will it come for Szoboszlai? No, it won't. But it will come towards the back post, and Hungary score, and Scotland's dreams are over. It is a goal for Hungary with virtually the last kick of the game. Scotland's hopes and dreams of European Championship qualification are shattered, and Hungary keep their faint hopes alive. And in the darkest, deepest moment of the 10th minute of stoppage time, Scotland have been beaten on the night. The Hungarian supporters on their feet in absolute ecstasy. An astonishing end to a game of high drama. Scott McTominay can barely look. Steve Clarke looks absolutely crestfallen in the game. And it is, and it will finish Scotland 0, Hungary 1. And what a moment, what an incredible moment for Sobov to score off the bench with basically the last kick of the game. It was Scotland who looked like the more likely of the two sides to pinch a late winner inside the confines of the penalty area. But Szoboszlai on the break was just screaming forwards, and Hungary had bodies forward, and they had the opportunity to feed it to the right-hand side, and it was a really clever run in actual fact from Kevin Sobov, and he did really well inside the penalty area to feed it back. Well, it was so well taken, so well taken inside the confines of the penalty. It just opened up his body, right-footed, slotted at home, and Scotland's dreams absolutely shattered on the night. And wow, what an incredible end to the game, because it finishes Scotland 0, Hungary 1, and it's an absolute sucker punch for Scotland. But Hungary will be absolutely delighted. And the full-time whistle goes, and what can you say about that? And Sobov with the goal, the assist from Saloy, and a really good game. And there you go, that is the margins. Those are the margins on the finest of stages in international football. And wow, what an astonishing end to an astonishing game of football. And the group will finish Germany on 7 points, Switzerland on 5 points, Hungary on 3, Scotland on 1. Don't forget, of course, Scotland eliminated from the competition. Their dreams are over. But for Hungary, well, they will finish on 3 points, and it's another early tournament exit for Scotland. I think when you dissect it all, to be honest, in the balance of play and the games they played, I don't think Scotland could truthfully believe that they should have qualified.